The Flames and Blue Jackets keep hope alive. The Oilers spoil the Jets party, sort of. And the Leafs and Lightning are battling for a division title. We have a full recap of Sunday in the NHL right now on Locked On NHL Game Night.
When that final horn sounds, you know it's time for Locked On NHL Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. Prepare to experience game day reactions like never before. Only on Locked On NHL Game Night. Your team every day.
Hey, hockey fans, welcome to Locked On NHL Game Night, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your teams every day. Thanks for making Locked On NHL Game Night your place to get a recap of the night in the NHL. We are available 7 days a week on wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. I'm Eddie Garcia, an LA Kings fan on the West Coast. He is Shukri Wrights, a Boston Bruins fan on the East Coast. Together, we are bringing you all the goals, saves, big moments, and stories from the night in the NHL. Shuey had 9 games in the NHL on Sunday, and there are still 2 playoff spots up for grabs.
Who wants it more? Who wants it bad? Because I tell you one thing, that's for sure. There's a team that is certainly glad tonight.
Well, let us start with a team that was looking to stay alive, and that was the Calgary Flames hosting the San Jose Sharks. The Flames could not lose in regulation or they would be eliminated from the playoffs. They had to at least get a point for an overtime or a shootout loss. Turns out they didn't need that. They get a big 5-2 victory over San Jose. Let's get a report on this game with our local expert, the host of Locked On Flames.
The Flames are still in the wild card race after a 5-2 victory over the San Jose Sharks. The biggest issue I had was the lack of energy, the lack of urgency right out of the gate. The Flames need to be playing these games every shift like it is the final shift of a Game 7. Unfortunately, they were just missing that pizzazz and readiness tonight against the Sharks, but they did turn it around and end up winning 5-2.
I know when I use the word pizzazz, I always think of Shukri Wrights.
Thank you.
They may not have started as well as Jess would have liked, but they certainly finished the game well.
Yeah, they certainly did. And listen, Yegor Sharangovich, he had one hell of a game. He had 2 goals in this one. But for me, to an extent, Jess did have a point. But the thought for me was, where was the urgency in regards to maintaining the lead that Calgary did jump out to? And the thing that I thought it was particularly frustrating to see was that the Sharks were left to lurk around. They smelled blood in the water, no pun intended. But the Flames realized that, hey, we better get our act together. And did they ever? And again, Dustin Wolf came to save the day. And as I mentioned, Sharangovich, he had 2 goals, including the game when I gave Calgary a 3-2 lead. But Dustin Wolf made the save towards a little bit further into the third period that really ended up being the big difference. But man, the Flames, they really got away with one tonight. And another example as to why their urgency has to be there from puck drop all the way to the final buzzer. And the Flames are certainly glad that they pulled one out of the rabbit hat.
Yeah, the 3 third period goals to pull out this one. And you're right, Dustin Wolf needs to be a Calder Trophy finalist. He's been amazing. And I do enjoy that they play hungry like the Wolf when he makes a big save there in Calgary. Another team that needed to win to stay alive, the Columbus Blue Jackets. They were taking on the Washington Capitals in D.C. back-to-back games on back-to-back nights against the Washington Capitals. And we would see a victory for the Columbus Blue Jackets to stay alive. We get a report on this game from one of our local experts, the host of Locked On Capitals.
Fall to the Columbus Blue Jackets by a score of 4-1. Hi, this is Dan Holme of Locked On Capitals. Well, if you thought playing the Columbus Blue Jackets was going to be a walk in the park, you're wrong, as the Capitals only scored 1 goal between the 2 games. Yesterday, the Caps lost 7-0. Today, the Capitals lost 4-1. And hey, that Fantilli guy is pretty good, as he has scored 4 goals in 2 games for Columbus. As far as the Capitals are concerned, Alex Ovechkin scores number 896, and yeah, that's pretty much the only other highlight. The excuses can end here now. As we said yesterday, that Ovechkin wasn't in the mix, and it was a third string netminder in there. Well, guess what? Alex Ovechkin was in the lineup and Charlie Lindgren was in net, and the Capitals still lost. Now, I get it. It's still impactful that they don't have Protas and Logan Thompson in the mix, but all things considered, the Capitals need to turn it around. The playoffs are right around the corner, and if they started today, it's not looking too good for the Caps.
Thanks to Dan Holme, our Locked On Capitals host. And Shu, I think we all kind of got caught up in the Alexander Ovechkin chase for history and the feel-good story that was. But now that dust is settled and we need to focus on how the Capitals are playing, there are some issues here. He talked about the injuries, and they're not playing their best hockey right now. So I get it. There should be a little concern there with Washington.
Sound the alarm if you're the Capitals. That's where you need to be. I'm there. Because, you know what's funny about sports is that sometimes when the big story is a particular player going after one of the biggest records in all of sports, it masks, a lot of the problems that may be lying underneath the surface. It's kind of like fool's gold, if you will. Ovi's got the record now, and now suddenly you're seeing a team that is completely discombobulated. Don't even get me started about offensively. They have scored a grand total of one goal in the last 6 periods against the same Columbus team. And the offensive issues isn't just relegated to these last 2 games. It's been a thing I've noticed now over the last couple of weeks. So I'm wondering if you're Spencer Carberry and you're in the Capitals locker room, do you say to the guys, hey, it's time that we need to wake up and come out of this conundrum and before you even get to the playoffs, because you run to risk being a first round exit. Let's say if it is Montreal that's got that final playoff seed in the East, man, the Capitals right now, aside from injuries, but their underperformance, it's offensively, it's concerning, and it should be alarming for every Capitals fan out there.
Oh, by the way, for the winning team, the Blue Jackets do stay alive for that final wildcard spot in the East. 4th straight win for the Blue Jackets. And Dan Holme is right. Adam Fantilli is turning into a superstar. 3rd overall pick in 2023. He's got 29 goals now in the season, 2 goals in this one. And who knows, he might turn out to be the best player of that draft, even better than Connor Bedard. He did mention Alexander Ovechkin, goal 896, and he scored on his 186th different goalie, this time Jet Greaves for the Columbus Blue Jackets. But the Jackets are still alive. Hey, big matchup in Winnipeg. The Jets taking on the Oilers, and good news, bad news for the Winnipeg Jets. We'll give you the good news in a moment. The bad news, they lose 4-1 at home to the Edmonton Oilers. Jets check in on this game with our local expert, one of the hosts of Locked On Jets.
81 games in, and if you told me that the Jets would be President's Trophy winners, I wouldn't have believed you. But here we are with one of the greatest awards that any single team can accomplish. Harrison Lee from Locked On Winnipeg Jets coming right after a loss to Edmonton that, sure, game wasn't great, but who cares, right? The most important thing is the Winnipeg Jets are President's Trophy winners. The number 1 team in the league, the best team. What an incredible accomplishment. It didn't even take all 82 games to complete this incredible accomplishment. The Jets have not only won their division, their conference, but really the entire league. And now they have just one goal left: win a Stanley Cup. You can follow along as they make their journey on Locked On Winnipeg Jets on all of your favorite podcasting platforms and YouTube. See you then, and go Jets go.
And we thank Harrison Lee, the host of Locked On Jets, for that report. Look, Shu, it's been a great season for the Winnipeg Jets. They win the Central, they win the President's Trophy, and they're going into the playoffs as a team that's going to be hunted. But there's a lot of people that are not believers. I don't know that I'm one of them, and I know you're not one of them.
I'm not one of them. Nope. I'm not a believer in the Winnipeg Jets. I have been consistent on this point that you got to show me come the playoffs. And then to make matters worse is that you are not only the President's Trophy winner, but that President's Trophy is cursed. I have said this for years on a multitude of platforms that the President's Trophy is cursed. Let me remind y'all, no President's Trophy winner has won the Stanley Cup in the same season since the Detroit Red Wings in 07-08 over the course of a full season. And in a shortened season, it hasn't happened since 2012-13 when the Chicago Blackhawks did it. And in the Winnipeg Jets team, yes, they have had an incredible year. Connor Hellebuck, because he's going to win the Vezina Trophy. I mean, they've had a substantial amount of offensive firepower on this team, for Kyle Connor to Mark Scheifele, to Adam Lowry to Nito Niederreiter. The list goes on and on. But the truth is that accompanied with the pressure that they're going to be facing to prove the doubters wrong, but the fact that no President's Trophy winner has won the Stanley Cup the same season over the course of a full season since 07-08 and 2013 during the short season, that's a lot of pressure. And I'm not sure if the Winnipeg Jets are even equipped to even handle that kind of pressure.
Let me say something real quick about the Edmonton Oilers. As a Kings fan, I absolutely hate them, but no Leon Draisaitl, no Zach Hyman, no Matthias Ekholm, no Trent Frederick, no Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, no Jake Wallman. And for the Oilers, no excuses. They're just going out and they're playing hard. They don't care who's in the lineup or not. Impressive win for them. Honestly, if I was them, the way their luck's going, I don't think I would be playing Connor McDavid right now. But they get a win on the road against the top team in the league. They're now 2 points back of my Kings in the race for home ice advantage in the first round of the playoffs. So we'll see what happens. They play each other in Edmonton on Monday. Also, Stuart Skinner back in net for the Oilers after missing 3 weeks with an injury, 17 saves in the victory. The Leafs look to move closer to a division title. The Lightning are close behind. That's next here on Locked On NHL Game Night. Scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time. With Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more. Experts ready to help you take your business to the next level. Upwork gives businesses flexibility by connecting them with top freelance talent across multiple industries, including IT, AI, web development, and marketing. Whether you need extra hands for a project or a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. If you need help with a marketing campaign, Upwork can connect you with a freelance expert who's delivered incredible results. Posting a job is free and simple, and within a day, you'll have multiple qualified candidates to choose from. Instead of hiring full-time, Upwork can help find affordable top-tier freelancers to scale your business efficiently. Visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That's Upwork, UPWORK.com, Upwork.com to connect with top talent and grow your business today. All right, let's keep a recap of Sunday going. And we had Maple Leafs taking on the Hurricanes, a battle of teams already in the playoffs. This one down in North Carolina. Toronto could clinch the Atlantic Division title just the third time since expansion with a win and a lightning loss to the Sabres. Well, the Leafs did their part with a 4-1 victory. Let's get a report on this game from one of our local experts, the host of Locked On Hurricanes.
The Carolina Hurricanes finished their home regular season slate, losing 4-1 to the Toronto Maple Leafs. They finish with a 31-9-1 record at home, which actually ties the 2005-2006 Hurricanes when they went 31-8-2. Overall, it is what it is. Another game where you wish you could have won. Looks like the Maple Leafs are probably going to secure the second seed in the East, with Carolina probably getting third, depending on how the last two games are. However, the Canes are on a little bit of a skid as they are now 1-4-1 in their last 5 games since clinching their playoff spot last Wednesday against the Washington Capitals. Should be interesting with 2 more games left. Is another back-to-back, their 3rd of April, as they take on Montreal Wednesday and then Ottawa on Thursday. It'll be interesting to see how it works out for the Carolina Hurricanes with 2 games to go.
Thanks to Zach Martin, host of Locked On Hurricanes, for that report. Just the 9th regulation home loss this season for Carolina. Nothing to play for. They're locked into hosting the New Jersey Devils in the first round. Still, you want to be playing well going to the playoffs. There's some question in net for the Hurricanes, Frederik Andersen and Pyotr Kochetkov. But you are a believer in the Leafs, and they have some questions, I think, in net perhaps as well. Joseph Woll, Anthony Stolarz are both sharing time. They've combined for 4 career playoff starts. They have played well this regular season, but you think they can get it done in the playoffs?
I really do. And I'm not saying it to blow smoke anyone's butt, but this is the one year that I actually believe that they can get it done despite the inexperience in net. My thing is this: if you are the Maple Leafs, you gotta like what you've seen from Dustin Woll and Anthony Stolarz. From the goaltending is the one area that you don't need to be worried about at all. Defensively in front is what's going to help them, especially in these tight games and so forth. So I think that the Maple Leafs should be fine. Now, the question is, who are you going to go with as your number one? For me personally, I'm going Anthony Stolarz. He's got to be the number one guy. yes, even though that both net miners or for example, inexperience, but Stolas has shown a lot to me in terms of his ability to be that steady presence for the Maple Leafs. So Stolas has got to be my number one guy in Toronto.
Yeah, I think he probably starts as well, and they'll probably figure it out as it goes along. Toronto getting its 50th win of the season, and the big boys showed up in this one. William Nylander, his 45th goal. John Tavares, his 38th. Austin Matthews, his 31st. And for Matthews, career goal number 399. Leafs will host either Florida or Ottawa in the first round of the playoffs. We'll see if they end up with that division title. We talked about the Lightning and the Leafs being tied together. Toronto gets the win. If they could get Tampa Bay to lose, they'd win the division. That did not happen. The Lightning get a convincing 7-3 win over the Buffalo Sabres. Tampa Bay reaches 100 points on the season. They're 4 back at Toronto for first in the Atlantic. Tampa Bay also 2 up on Florida for second in the Atlantic and home ice in a potential first-round playoff matchup. I'm a big fan of the Bolts, Shu. I think this Tampa Bay Lightning team is as dangerous as any team in the NHL right now. Do you agree or disagree?
Oh, 100%. And what's interesting is that Tampa Bay at times is kind of like that sneaky team that everyone's looking at, Washington or maybe Carolina or maybe the Panthers, but Tampa Bay is like forgotten because of the fact that they have been so consistently steady that it's gotten boring, if that makes sense. So if you're Tampa Bay, you're taking this as a badge of honor, saying, you know what, everybody wants to look past us, no problem. We're going to just surprise everyone. But yet again, if the Lightning were to make another long run in the playoffs again, would it surprise anybody? No. Because again, with the likes of what Nikita Kucherov has been able to do, and he should be a Hart Trophy finalist this season, along with the steady goaltending that they've gotten from Andrei Vasilevsky, which should surprise absolutely nobody. But I like Tampa Bay a lot. I mean, I think in more ways than one, they're kind of being overlooked a little bit in the East. But Tampa Bay, because they have the core that have been there and done that in itself, and plus how they played this season is a reason why I'm a big believer in what Tampa Bay is going to be able to do come playoff time.
4 players with 35 goals or more on the Tampa Bay Lightning. And you mentioned they've got the goaltending. They've got the head coach who knows how to get it done as well. You mentioned Nikita Kucherov. He had a goal, 117 points now on the season. He's going to win the Art Ross Trophy as the leading point producer in the NHL this year. Nathan McKinnon sitting out the rest of the games for Colorado. Maybe Kucherov wins it anyway. Who knows? Also want to check in on the Flyers taking on the Senators. Ottawa still hopes of maybe catching Florida for third in the Atlantic. Sens win this one 4-3 in overtime. We get a game report from our local expert, one of the co-hosts of Locked On Senators.
4-3 overtime win over the Philadelphia Flyers at home at the Canadian Tire Center. The Ottawa Senators are now locked in to that top wildcard spot in the Eastern Conference. I'm Brandon Pillar from the Locked On Senators podcast, and it was a big game from 2 Sens players. Tim Stützle with 2 goals and an assist, including an absolute blast on the power play in overtime for the game winner. And Thomas Chabot stays hot with 1 goal and 2 assists. Anton Forsberg gets a win with the start in goal. So now that the Sens are stuck in that number 1 wildcard spot in the East, the only question remains, who will they play in the playoffs? The Tampa Bay Lightning or a Battle of Ontario up against the Toronto Maple Leafs?
Thanks to Brandon Pillar, one of the co-hosts of Locked On Senators. So the Sens take care of business, still winning without Brady Tkachuk, by the way. I know who I would rather face if I was Ottawa, but he asked the question, who would you rather face if you're the Ottawa Senators? The Maple Leafs, who you think are going to win the Cup, or the Tampa Bay Lightning, who we just talked about are pretty darn good in their own right?
And by the way, Eddie, I'm sticking by what I said yesterday on yesterday's show.
Oh, I'm holding you to it, believe me.
I am not of the make believe. I am of the believe.
Well,
believe with the leaf capitalized.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, I want to see Battle of Ontario.
Yeah.
I want to see what's going to get the juices flowing. I mean, listen, Toronto, Ottawa, the Battle of Ontario, that is one of the most fiercest rivalries in the NHL, but it hasn't happened often in the playoffs. But what a time for it to happen than right now. What better time for it to happen than now, especially with the Toronto Maple Leafs, the first year under Craig Berube, the improvements that they made defensively, and this young core of Ottawa Senators that there's a lot to like. I really like, obviously, like their captain, Brady Tkachuk, who has been there since the beginning, Tim Stutzla, Josh Norris, and I think the list goes on and on. And I have to tell you that for ratings and as well as just for the storylines, there's so much to like about this matchup. And then on top of that, Ottawa, if it's Toronto-Ottawa, listen, I think the most curious aspect of Ottawa is going to be who gets to start in net. Is it going to be Linus Ullmark or is it going to be Anton Forsberg? And it should be Ullmark based on how he's played this season.
I think it'll definitely be Ullmark. They paid him for playoff wins, and now he's going to get his chance. But, oh, by the way, not only do I agree with you about all the storylines and the provincial rivalry, but the Senators are 3-0 against the Maple Leafs this year. Oh, by the way, and all the pressure is going to be on Toronto. So that will be a lot of fun. Hey, we had a controversial hit in the Devils-Islanders game. We're going to get reactions to that. And I have a fun fact that will amaze you. That is next here on Locked On NHL Game Night. Looking for a snack that is both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help you feel fuller longer. It's the perfect grab-and-go snack for busy days, whether you're snacking at your desk or on a road trip or just need a quick protein boost. And if you love cracking open every shell for that satisfying crunch, the in-shell options are a classic favorite. Wonderful Pistachios is a complete protein, providing all 9 essential amino acids. Whether you're running between meetings or dropping off the kids, Wonderful Pistachios is a snack that works as hard as you do. Get snacking and get cracking with this snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. All right, we had a battle of a couple of teams that have been eliminated from the postseason, and that was the New Jersey Devils. Excuse me, I stand corrected. The Islanders have been eliminated from the postseason. The Devils, not yet, although some people may think they won't be around very long. But they are in the playoffs. They are facing the Carolina Hurricanes. And in this one, the Islanders get a 1-0 victory, and there is something about this game that we should talk about. But first, let's get a report on the game from our local expert, the host of Locked On Islanders.
Islanders beat the New Jersey Devils 1-0 on Sunday in a game that has no bearing on the playoffs. The Islanders did not call anybody up from their AHL affiliate in Bridgeport and started Ilya Sorokin despite the fact that he was injured earlier in the week. And Sorokin played well in a shutout, but the Islanders took a risk and ended up losing Adam Pelech midway through the game on a headshot by Paul Cotter. I don't think Cotter was intentionally trying to injure Pelech, but it clearly was a blow to the head, and he was rightfully ejected from the game. The major thing is hopefully Pelech will be okay, and there was no serious damage to him. The Islanders pick up 2 points when they probably would be better off not winning these games. But again, this is where the team is at under Lou Lamoriello.
And thanks to Gil Martin, the host of Locked On Islanders, for that report. Shu, Gil seemed to think that Paul Cotter hit on Adam Pelech was not intentional. Do you agree or disagree?
I disagree. I think it was 100% like intentional. Like you could have actually gotten out of the way, and I got out of the way of Adam Pelech. And the thing that bothers me is this: if I can see that, then everyone else should be able to see that. And Darren Pang on the TNT broadcast, where the game was broadcasted today, he even mentioned it live on the air. Like, no, like Cotter could have gotten out of the way. And these kind of hits are just so dangerous in this game, and it has no place in the NHL. In which that we talk about player safety. This is the kind of hit that could really derail someone's career. So no, I was not a fan of the Cotter hit at all. I don't like it one bit. It's dirty. I don't think it's a dirty player, but this certainly does warrant some sort of suspension and at least at minimum a hearing on what the Department of Player Safety.
Yeah, I agree with you. Now, he tried to make it look like he wasn't doing what he was doing, but he knew what he was doing. He skated into him with his shoulder in the head. And the NHL, you could fault them for a lot of things. They don't have a sense of humor when it comes to shots to the head. So Paul Cotter does have a hearing with the Department of Player Safety on Monday. I think he's going to get a 2-game suspension. That means he'll miss the final 2 games of the regular season, but will not likely miss any playoff games. That the NHL loves to hand out those 2-game suspensions, but we'll see. We did have the Bruins playing at the Penguins, two teams that are thinking about next season. Boston gets the 4-1 win in this one. Let's get a game report from one of our local experts, the host of Locked On Bruins.
Fans are looking for signs of hope this spring with the team not destined for a playoff spot this season, and they got a few of those in Sunday's win over the Pittsburgh Penguins. Fabian Lysell scored his first career NHL goal off a beautiful feed from Pavel Zacha, and Elias Lindholm also kept the offense going, which has been resurging as of late. That combined with the David Pastrnak goal, old reliable there, and Jacob Lauko with an empty netter, gave the Bruins something to look forward to. Hopefully these guys can keep it going next season. If the Bruins have any chance of rebounding, then Lindholm, who is a recent big free agent signing, and Lysell, a recent first-round pick, will need to be much better and more effective at the NHL level than they have been this season. So signs of hope, Lysell scoring, Lindholm scoring, David Pastrnak as good as always. The Bruins still in the fourth highest draft pick probability spot, which is also a win. Catch all the latest on the next episode of Locked On Boston Bruins.
And thanks to Ian McLaren, host of Locked On Bruins, for that report. Shu, you're a Bees fan. Anything you wanted to comment on what Ian had to say?
I also want to add in that I really liked what I saw from Morgan Geekie in particular, because this was someone who struggled offensively last year, and this year he scored the most goals of his career. And I think that with him being becoming a restricted free agent after the season, I think it's going to be imperative that Don Sweeney or whoever's going to be in the front office signs him to a multi-year contract. Most B fans that I've heard from on Twitter today were concerned about him being overpaid, but considering that he's just finally getting to scratch his offensive potential with the Boston Bruins, playing alongside David Pastrnak, that could be the beginning of wonders, playing alongside with Pavel Zacha at center. So I like what I saw from Morgan Geekie, and I think this could potentially be a sign of things to come, especially if he stays in Boston after this season.
All right, here is my fun fact of the night. Prepare to have your minds blown.
Ooh,
It involves your Boston Bruins.
Oh,
For the first time in NHL history, all 4 U.S.-based original 6 teams will not be in the playoffs. Bruins, Rangers, Blackhawks, Red Wings.
wow.
All out. It's never happened before. First time that has ever happened in the history of the National Hockey League. How about that?
That's different. Very.
I know you're excited your Bruins were involved in that. Hey, we have one final game to talk about. The Anaheim Ducks were hosting the Colorado Avalanche, and the Ducks obviously not going to the playoffs. The Avs are. Anaheim looking to play the spoiler role. They had a 2-0 lead in the third period, and then Colorado, without Nathan McKinnon, without Cale Makar, scored 4 unanswered goals. Wyatt Emmett scored his first in the NHL. Charlie Coyle gets the game winner, and Colorado gets a 4-2 victory. They're locked into playing the Dallas Stars in the first round. But how about this? That was the final game of the season for the Colorado Avalanche. They're done into the playoffs, so they're going to have at least 6 days off. Shoot, is that rest that's going to help them, or is that a rust that might slow them down early in the series against Dallas?
I think it's rest, because teams that have long laundry lists of guys who are injured right now could use those 6 days off. And when I say that, I'm talking about teams like I'm talking about like the Edmonton Oilers. I'm talking about like the Dallas Stars, for example, and obviously Colorado. So I think this is something that the NHL should consider, like where all 32 teams, or at least 14 out of 15 games are being played on one particular day, and then give teams 5 or 6 days to rest before the start of round 1 of the Stanley Cup playoffs. It's only going to be a benefit where everybody's coming in evenly fresh, ready to go, to rest up and deal with the nips and bruises. And I think that ultimately it will be a benefit. So I think it'll be better suited if the NHL maybe one day looks into potentially doing something like that, where a team has like 5 or 6 days off between the end of the regular season and the start of the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Yeah, if I had my choice, I would always take the rest as well. It might hurt you in the first game or two, but ultimately down the road, it probably will help you to get those few days off. We're going to close out the show with my 3 stars of the night. My number 3 star is Tim Stützle from the Ottawa Senators with 2 goals, including the overtime game winner. My number 2 star, Yegor Sharangovich from the Calgary Flames in that big win. He had 2 goals. And my number 1 star of the night from the Columbus Blue Jackets in a must-win, Adam Fantilli with 2 goals. Great show, Shu. We're going to wrap it up right there, and that'll do it for this episode of Locked On NHL Game Night. You got to taste some of our local experts and their shows. Make sure you check out the Locked On show of your favorite NHL team to keep updated on your team every day. I'm Eddie Garcia. He is Shukri Wrights. Thank you for listening, watching Locked On NHL Game Night, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your teams every day.